What's up, guys? It's Andy, and today I have a riding vlog for you. It is about time, and I just kind of wanted to do a quick intro, kind of explaining everything that's been going on, because I think the last video of me riding Gideon was a jumping video. So basically, long story short, I wanted his right and left hind hips, that whole situation, evaluated by a sports medicine specialist who came out and ruled him 3 out of 5 lame, which I think would shock most people considering it's out of 5 and he was a 3. That's pretty severe. It's a moderate to severe lameness, and it was in both hind legs. I actually told that to the assistant trainer that used to do the training rides on him, and she was shocked because he doesn't feel lame. He just doesn't. So I was really disappointed. We had to take an entire month of just hand walking and turnout. If he would have tolerated stall rest, he probably would have had it. But he wouldn't without sedatives, and I wasn't going to pick that as an option for him. So after a month of hand walking and doing stretches and all of that sort of stuff, he was started under saddle again, just walking, about 15 to 20 minutes. So we started walking over poles, walking over raised poles, and I started his bitless journey. I ended up buying like 4 different bitless bridles, and I finally settled on a Cavison lunging bridle, which I just attached the reins to the Cavison noseband attachments instead of a lunge line. Then the vet came out again and did another assessment, and I didn't get probably as much detail as I should have asked for, but she said his left hind looked way better, and she didn't really comment on the right, other than he was still lame on the right, which I don't think we were expecting him to not be completely sound. That was never really the expectation, but I never asked if there was improvement. So unfortunately, that was kind of on my bad for not having my questions prepped ahead of time. And she okayed us for starting trot work. So the goal was just trotting straight lines, no circles or anything crazy like that, just to get him back into work, start building up. He could do trot poles, but only flat, not elevated, continue walking over the elevated poles, and just kind of trying to bring him back slowly to see if we can rebuild muscle in the areas of scar tissue to kind of help support his hip. Basically, his right hip does the proper movement of back and forth. His left hip, if I didn't say that. Left hip does the proper movement of back and forth, and the right hip goes up and down. So it's causing irritation there. It also explains his short step behind. He could reach with the left more than the right. He'll never really be able to fully reach with the right because of the restriction of the scar tissue. So his next appointment is 2 weeks from now on August 1st. And unfortunately, it's going to be a different vet than the one who has been seeing us, because the one who has been seeing us has taken a month off for medical leave, and then when she comes back, she's very busy. So her associate's going to be coming out to do kind of what I'm thinking is going to be his final assessment. You know, we've increased the work significantly now, adding back in the trot work, and over time starting to use the whole arena, and then over time starting to do figure eights, and then over time now we're doing, kind of larger 20-meter circles, more oblong, but doing that cut distance. It's been going okay. We also treated for ulcers. He got 28 full days of omeprazole, and then now he's finishing up his 14-day taper of half doses, and then he'll stop. For a while, in combination with the bitless, it seemed to solve 90% of him stopping under saddle and not wanting to move forward. Unfortunately, I just can't tell if it's still just a little bit of an attitude thing, or if he's feeling pain in his hind end from increased work, because I have noticed the return of the not wanting to move forward. Not necessarily flat out stopping, but when I'm asking, I'm getting resistance, and I shouldn't be getting resistance. I also 2 rides ago started putting him back in a bit. He was starting to take advantage of bitless. The first couple rides, he was kind of figuring it out, really got it. While we were walking, it was totally a doable way to ride. Then we started trotting, and it was a whole thing, him figuring out what he could or could not get away with. Eventually, I brought his martingale back into the picture to help control his head position a little bit, because without contact, you can't frame up a horse and ask them to have contact when you don't have a bit. So I just needed him to have a neutral headset, and it was really good going bitless. He always had his head down. He was nice and relaxed. Then he has kind of started acting like a stallion around certain mares at the barn. And we've had a couple of riding incidences where I feel like I'm getting just really awfully close to the line of losing control of him. When he sees a mare and he's like, holy crap, and then wants to walk over there or trot over there or canter over there. And then I'm just basically just pulling on his nose without any more control over than that. And even in the lunging bridle, I never had the noseband super tight because I don't like super tight nosebands, and you kind of have to for it to work. So I even had less control than I wanted. So he's back in a bit. I think he doesn't mind a bit. It gives him something to focus on. He's constantly chewing. He doesn't seem like he's in pain. But unfortunately, he has a rubber bit, and he's already chewed cracks into it after 2 rides. So I'm going to have to switch him to the metal version of his French link, just because I can't keep buying a $45 bit every 2 or 3 rides because he just chews through the rubber. I like the fact that it keeps him occupied. I like that it's soft on his mouth. But unfortunately, it's just not, cost efficient. So he'll be getting a new bit next week. Now that he is going in a bit again, I have noticed he's not so hung up about being counterbended to relieve pressure in his hind end. He's moving relatively well because he's just really focused on chewing on the bit. It's something to deter his OCD obsessiveness too. Now, it doesn't look great under saddle, as I'm sure you'll see. He likes to go behind the vertical and chew, 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 chew. And you'll see I don't hold contact on him, and I never ask him to hold in a frame or hold contact. So what I'll be doing mostly until he remembers this, that I'm not going to rip on his face. I think that's what happened in his past, was the roll cur tight contact that he didn't like. So now he just does it automatically to avoid that pain and that pressure. So he needs a couple rides, I think, in a bit to remind himself that I don't do that when I ride. I barely even ask for contact or a head frame at all. I just want him to move forward. So you'll see me, I'm not gonna really be fussing with his head frame or touching his mouth. I'm only gonna be pushing him forward and trying to get him to ride forward through that. We are not currently approved for much canter work, though if he's behaving well and responding well, we have been working on transitions in half seat, walk to trot to walk. I have done a few trot to canters, back to trot. The canter extent is only a single long side. I've not technically been approved by the vet to do full canter work, so if he wants to take, a long side is maybe 5 or 6 steps. If he wants to take a couple canter steps, I'm not going to prevent him from doing that. I'm just not going to take it through the corner. He still gets turnout and gallops like a wild boy outside, so it's not like he's not cantering ever. He is doing it on his own when he chooses to outside. That I can't really control without putting him on stall rest, which I'm not willing to do for his mental health. And today we're going to be doing raised walking poles. We're going to have trot poles. Alicia's going to film, and I'll be riding with my friend Cass and her horse Sunny, and we're just going to kind of see where the day takes us. Yesterday they were doing gymkhana stuff in the arena with a ton of kids, and it was just really, there was probably 6 horses in our arena, and he was just really overstimulated, and I had a hard time getting him to relax into doing anything. He just felt like he wanted to buck and be crazy and run around the entire time I was riding. So I'm hoping he's a little bit calmer today. He got ridden last night. He had turnout all day today, and hopefully tonight he will be much better behaved. And I'm hoping I don't want to be like doomsday prepper or anything, but it could be possible that this is the last riding vlog we'll have with Gideon. I've made it very clear that as much as I love him and on his good days he is the best, he does have bad days, and those bad days are just not worth it to me if I'm not going to be able to ride him and do the things that I've waited my whole life to do, to own a horse. I had to wait till I was an adult and had a good paying job for me to be able to afford a horse. And if he can't do what I want to do, I'm not going to put my dreams back on the back burner for another however many years until he retires or passes away. A full early retirement for him would be my ideal. I will be consulting with the vets as far as what they think his physical ability is. I would be rehoming him on a very honest basis. I would probably not be I'm not gonna like post him for sale because I don't think that would be honest. Everyone needs to understand if I get rid of him, it will be a rehoming situation because the proper home and care for him is gonna be of the utmost importance. Unfortunately, I would have to dip into my wedding savings for next year to get a new horse, and I really don't want to do that. And I do really love Gideon, and I hope he stays, and I hope the vet has some good news for us on August 1st. But I'm just also trying to be realistic and prepare myself for the fact that I might be looking for a new home for him, even though that's not what I'd like to do in a perfect world. If I could afford to have 2 horses and just retire him out, I totally would. But with the way things are, board just went up $75. Like I can't afford another horse on top of it. It's just too much with all his vet bills. And so this may be his last vlog. I don't know. So before I keep rambling on about my sad story, let's go ahead and have a good night out at the barn with some friends. And yeah, let's go. Okay, so Steph left us, she was jumping, and she left us some poles out, so we're just gonna add to it. Okay, we got some raised walking poles, we got 3 trap poles there, and we got 4 trap poles here set by the lovely Alicia, with assistance from Cass. bye.